Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome into another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm joined by the entire crew today. We have Joe, Chris, and Rich. We'll start with you first, Rich. How are you doing this weekend? After this weekend?
I'm good. I can't complain, typical weekend of football, the highs, the lows, everything in between. So had some good Friendsgiving with you guys. Played some football, threw 2 touchdown passes, also caught one myself, played some good football. But yeah, other than that, I'm real sore today. I've been sore since Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, getting old sucks. Joe, how are you doing?
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty good. Just as you can see, still in the midst of redoing the basement, and yeah, same was what Richie said. Thanksgiving was good, food was good, but I haven't ran that much in a while.
Yes, it's good to get out a little bit. Chris, I'm assuming the trifecta, you're feeling it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, have not ran like that in my entire life. I was also a Jets wide receiver. Really wasn't great, but it was fun. I had a good time.
It happens. It's fun.
I also got to Joshua Dobbs you, so
Yes, yeah, we'll get into that. It's wonderful times. So on today's show, we're gonna do some redraft trades that have happened. We're gonna go over bring up a couple guys maybe we want to look for, people we might be okay trading away, and targets. So before we get started, we always got our quick questions. So the first one is, how are things right now looking in your fantasy leagues? Chris, we'll start with you.
Alrighty, here we go. Rapid fire. 7-3, 7-3, 7-3, 6-4, 4-6, 3-7. That's it there. 7-3 in our dynasty league, and then I am 6-4 in another league that I'm in. And that's it. Yeah, I'm in way too many leagues. Way too many.
Yeah.
That's a good time.
I feel like we're all in a decent amount of leagues. We took a dive off the deep end on some of these. Joe, you are my opponent in our redraft league. So how are you doing so far?
Hopefully, I crush you. Granted, I don't have Alvin Kamara this week, but still, hopefully, I come out with a win. I should be much higher in our redraft league. For some reason, I'm not first. It boggles me. I'm only 6-4 in that league. I'm 3-7 in Dynasty. I am in last place, so I am riding the Caleb train. And I'm 4-6 in me and Warren's Pro League, which is very hitter. I feel like our team's good, yet we always play against, like last week we played against CD Lamb and lost. So just always like one of those weeks in that league. So what are you gonna do?
Yep, nothing. Just keep pushing. Rich, how are you? Even though I figure we all know how you're doing.
Well, no, I'm only doing good in our dynasty league. Hopefully, trying to hit that three-peat. But yeah, 7-3 there, 7-3 in my other 2 dynasty leagues. So sitting pretty in dynasty, but yeah, a little bit of a sweat going on with the redraft. I'm 4-6, sitting in 7th place, looking on from the outside in at the moment. But if I can maybe pull together some wins right here at the end stretch, I think I can slide into a spot and surprise y'all in the end.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll since you're hurting, maybe we'll talk a little bit of a trade between the two of us in redraft. So for me, redraft in our guillotine league are looking pretty good right now. Going against Joe is my opponent in our redraft league this week, and I'm on a 7-game winning streak after starting 0-3. So I'm hoping to continue that.
No.
Yeah, it might.
I've scored the most points in this damn league. I should be number one.
Hey, that happened to me a couple years ago too, and I came
Blasphemy.
in last.
That's what I'm telling you.
It hurts. There's nothing worse than having a good team and still not winning because you just go up against the best team that week. It's terrible, and I hate it. But Dynasty is not looking so good. A lot of my guys got injured at the wrong times, and As Chris mentioned at the top of the show, I got Joshua Dobbs. He kind of destroyed me, so trying to fight for a playoff spot. So we'll see how that goes. But other than that, I think it's pretty good. I'm hopeful. So let's dive into our making a deal segment here. So I'm going to go over a couple trades from fantasycalc.com, their trade database. These are trades that were made yesterday. So first one here. Tell me which side you guys like, and if there's a specific reason and certain situations that might sway your opinion. So side one is David Montgomery for Jerome Ford and DeAndre Hopkins. Joe, we'll start with you.
I kind of like it. Really depends on the team. So if you need wide receiver help, I like side two because Jerome Ford is, of course, a crucial part of that Browns offense. Now without Deshaun Watson, I could see them running the ball more, which could be upside for Ford. But if I'm just comparing Ford and Montgomery, of course, the Lions running back committee is probably the best in football right now with Gibbs and Montgomery. So I would probably go with Montgomery.
Anyone feel differently about that?
Wow.
Yeah, I do. I'll oppose. I'll oppose. I'm gonna go with side two, definitely one with Jerome Ford and DeAndre Hopkins. I know, obviously Hopkins has been so lackluster only up until recently, and as Joe said with Deshaun Watson getting injured, definitely could see the avenue of Jerome Ford getting more touches and therefore more running time. But I feel like while Montgomery was gone and Gibbs getting those insane numbers that he did, I don't know if they're going to use him like the workhorse that he was before, like so consistently every single week, considering that he had just gotten off an injury, and that's probably why he got injured in the first place. It was probably just something building up over time. I would like to think that side two of Jerome Ford and DeAndre Hopkins won because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe said it best. It depends on if you need wide receiver help, because although I do think that David Montgomery is definitely a difference maker at the position. If you need someone else, people are hurting. Right now is a time where there's a lot of injuries, bye weeks, and everything. So Jerome Ford is his schedule the rest of the season should be good, despite who's playing quarterback. Because if anything, they're going to lean on him more. And Hopkins, you're hoping Will Levis kind of regains form from his first NFL start. So, anything to add, Rich? Are you good with it all?
Well, I pretty much agree with what Joe said from the start. I definitely, as a David Montgomery owner, I don't think if someone offered me DeAndre Hopkins or Jerome Ford, I don't think it would sway me enough to want to do the trade. So,
Huh. So next trade I saw here is DK Metcalf and Joshua Downs for Zach Charbonnet, Darrell Henderson, and Jacoby Myers. Now, right off the bat, this is if you are absolutely desperate for running back, this could be something you might be forced into. But for me, it's going to be DK Metcalf and Josh Downs. Downs has had well, no pun intended, but a couple down weeks with injury. He's going to get back to form. And DK, it's hard to not want DK Metcalf. So, Rich, which side do you lean on here?
well, I was kind of like trying to look into it a little more. But yeah, I guess if I had to pick a side, I think I'm gonna go with the DK Metcalf and Josh Down sides too. I guess it also depends on where you are. I mean, Zach Charbonnet is interesting just because of Ken Walker seems to be a little more banged up, or as we're going along here, so he's taking limited practices and days off in practice. So it's always a cause for concern. And by the end of the week, Ken Walker always is playing, but it's always the stretch at the end where maybe they're going to start to pull back on him a little bit and let the rookie run a little more. So I'm very interested to see how Charbonnet plays towards the end of this year. And Darrell Henderson, I think, is only really a 1 or 2 week rental until Kyron Williams comes back. So I don't know at the moment. I mean, again, you're doing this trade, I guess, as if you need running back help, right? Because you're giving away to wide receivers trying to attempt to get running backs, but I don't think these running backs are your answer. Zach Charbonnet could be, but it's still not a surefire thing. Ken Walker is still there; he's not going away. So, and Jacoby Myers doesn't really do anything for me. You're just trying to get back a wide receiver at that point.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So next one here. This one's I feel like going to be really dependent on this week or not. We have T. Higgins for Tank Dell. Now Higgins has been kind of a bust so far. Dealing with a lot of injury. He's out for Thursday Night Football against the Ravens. Tank Dell is kind of had a really solid year. CJ Stroud looks like the dude. So would you prefer to have Joe Burrow's number 2 or CJ Stroud's 1B?
I think I'd rather have CJ Stroud's 1B personally. I don't know about anyone else. So I'm not. I don't remember exactly how much longer T. Higgins has on his contract, but I think it's almost up. I could be wrong. So
Yeah, he's a free agent next year.
He is. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, I'm willing to bet they won't re-sign him. He's not being used in the offense, even when he is healthy, clearly, especially at the beginning when Joe Burrow was struggling, right? And now it's, Jamar Chase still exists. He's there. I don't see any reason why not to use him. And I don't know. With the way that Houston's using Tank Dell, I don't see any reason why side 2 wouldn't be winning this trade. I think T. Higgins is still a good player, I think. But in terms of like how everything's being used, I would definitely go with Tank Dell over T. Higgins.
Yo, T. Higgins is trash. I'm gonna just say it straight up. He is the new Rashad Penny of football. I have not seen him play a single full season without some major injury, and his numbers are super lackluster, playing with one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Tyler Boyd has better games than him. No thanks, I'm out. I have 0 shares of him, and I don't want any shares of T. Higgins.
This year has been kind of derailed by injury for him, and the beginning of the season was kind of
every season, Matt. He's hurt every year.
I understand that, but I mean, a lot of players got hurt. Justin Jefferson's hurt now, and I'm not comparing. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not comparing T. Higgins to Justin Jefferson. But
you hear that, Twitter? He's comparing the two. He's comparing them. He's comparing them.
Matt has shares of T. Higgins, and he's trying. No, he's still good. You should trade him for him. He's still relevant. He's not hurt every season.
In Dynasty, I would be trading for him because this is the lowest he's probably going to be.
And I wouldn't give you.
He's going to be on a different.
For him.
Well, then I think that would be a mistake. But T. Higgins still has immense upside because he's still on a great offense this season. I do think he's going to come back, and probably next week. He's probably going to come back next week and be perfectly fine. There's always that risk of him re-injuring because it's just kind of baked into what he is now. But when he's on the field, he is one of these wide receivers that could easily get 8 to 10 targets a game. And that's someone you would more often want than want to shy away from. So I'm still on the T. Higgins train. His value definitely takes a hit. I don't think I'm ready to give up Tank Dell, though, for him. As much as I like T. Higgins, Tank Dell is on fire right now, and that offense is pretty good.
Texans look insane. And yeah, T. Higgins has got broken 10 targets a single game this season. Just saying.
Yeah. No, I know, but a lot of that was also the injury to Joe Burrow the first 3 to 4 games. I mean, the Bengals were pretty rough. He's also had, it's been different, but I agree. His value definitely takes a hit. So
I might be biased. I personally hate him. I think he is not good.
Wow, strong words.
I thought we only have one person that hates Puka here. We're not allowed to spread the hate out too much.
I will openly tell you I hate T. Higgins and want 0 shares of him.
I mean, I have shares of T. Higgins. I don't mind him.
All right, so me and Rich will have him. You guys can
yeah, I don't think I have any shares of T. Higgins at all. Honestly, not thinking about it.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. It's a roller coaster of emotions. You're happy, then you're sad, then you're happy and sad, and just yeah. All right, moving on to the next one. Devontae Smith, who now has no Dallas Goedert for a couple weeks, for Kyler Murray and Calvin Ridley, who has been an absolute bust, and it really sucks to say because I was very, very excited for Calvin Ridley. I think a lot of us were, and it just has not worked out. Something's wrong in that offense, and I don't know if it gets fixed. Rich, any thoughts on this trade? Leaning one way or the other?
I mean, Devontae Smith has been pretty disappointing. Um, Not gonna lie. So, I mean, I don't know how you get this deal done. I mean, who's giving away Kyler and Calvin Ridley for Devonta Smith? I mean, I think it would be Calvin Ridley and something smaller for Devonta Smith. But still, I mean, I think Calvin Ridley still can get it done. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has just looked lackluster. So that's the thing there. But overall, I mean, if you can get Kyler Murray and Calvin Ridley and give away Devonta Smith, I think I would do that, you know?
All righty. We'll do one more of these here. This one is a bigger trade. This is the biggest one so far. Trey McBride, Deontay Johnson, and CeeDee Lamb for Tyler Lockett, Aaron Jones, and Travis Kelce. Joe, let's start with you because I know you're a Kelce manager. So does that
Yeah, I mean,
advantage at the position change anything?
yeah, I'm 100% taking side too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love CeeDee Lamb, and he just came off a monster game. But Trey McBride is nothing to write home about. Deontay Johnson is just the definition of boomer bust. He either has a good game or he doesn't do it. A little more consistent. Aaron Jones is looking like he's getting back into his groove. Um, and I'd rather have a consistent. Granted, it depends on the team. If you don't need a running back, then maybe. But I think I'd rather have one of the best tight end positions in football. You just put him in. You don't worry about it. Aaron Jones is a perfectly good running back play option, and I wouldn't want to play Tyler Lockett as one of my two wide receivers, but I would definitely play him as a flex option. So I definitely like side two more.
I agree. I agree a lot, mostly because I'm looking at what side two gave up, right? So you give up CeeDee Lamb, right? Obviously, who is like the big hitter there, but then you give up Deontay Johnson and like you said, Trey McBride. I'm looking at the sides, right? And if I'm going into a redraft league and I'm literally drafting players, I am 100% drafting besides CeeDee Lamb, right? Depending on how you want to, value stuff. Maybe you draft Travis Kelce first, CeeDee Lamb, whoever before who. But between the other two players, right? Like you cancel out Kelce and CeeDee Lamb, who you may consider just be equals. I feel like I'm taking Aaron Jones over either of them, and I feel like I might take Tyler Lockett over McBride, definitely. You can maybe make your argument for Deontay Johnson before the season, but definitely, now I would consider it to be a little shaky. I mean, just player value overall, definitely side two wins, 100%.
Are you following suit, Rich, or are you going the other way?
I think I'm going the other way, guys. I think that you are not realizing that CeeDee Lamb is involved here, and CeeDee Lamb's a big deal. I mean, Travis Kelce short is a big deal, but if Taylor Swift is not in attendance, Travis Kelce's having a down game. So at that point, I'm okay with Trey McBride. Trey McBride has been rolling, and now Kyler's back. I'm definitely thinking that that we may be coming into something here. Trey McBride is a very athletic tight end, so enough so to the point where I can make the case that I've won many championships without having a high caliber Travis Kelce. Trey McBride, I think, can follow suit, and in turn, you get a heavy hitter uh, with CeeDee Lamb. Deontay Johnson, I understand, hit or miss, but Aaron Jones is questionable at best. Tyler Lockett is also questionable at best because of the situations surrounding his age as well as his quarterback this year. It's not the same as he was last year. Um, yeah, no, CeeDee Lamb is too high powered for me. I'm going the other way.
Okay, yeah. If you didn't do it, I definitely was. That's the way I was leaning when I was reading this. CeeDee Lamb, I understand the tight end position. You know, with Travis Kelsey, that advantage is huge. But Trey McBride, I mean, with Kyler Murray, last week was awesome. He's shown flashes. I think he can sustain this. And Deontay Johnson, I know you and Joe, Chris and Joe don't really like him as much, but he gets targets, and that's what I'm looking for in fantasy. That's a little bit more reliable than some of these other boom or bust guys. And I understand Deontay Johnson has some good games, some bad games, and all, but I just think you want opportunity, and Deontay Johnson is the epitome of opportunity because he's the first read in that offense. George Pickens can't separate, so they're going to go to Deontay over anyone else. Um, Aaron Jones is kind of that offense is bad. I don't really want pieces of a terrible offense. And Tyler Lockett is great. Don't get me wrong. He's always awesome. It is just him every year. He finishes inside the top, 20 wide receivers because that's just who he is. So in a toss up, I'm still going to side one, but I do think both are good trades. So alrighty. So without further ado, we got to jump into our heroes. So Chris, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. Hero number one, my man, Joshua Dobbs. Everyone's favorite, specifically this week. Now, I know the Broncos looked a little more menacing somehow than before, but that was, I feel like the Bills, I don't know, going back, 5 years, 6 years into the past and starting to suck again. I'm not really sure what happened there, but I'm looking at the numbers. They're right in front of me. 3 weeks in a row, right? 2 of them not so great offenses, but one of them is great. Week 8 against Baltimore, 27 points. Week 9 against Atlanta, 26.5 points. Week 10 against New Orleans, 27.8. Against Baltimore, he was on a different team, I believe, if I remember correctly. He was literally on a different team at that point. I feel like we're entering this new era of quarterback where there's of people trying to prove themselves. We got from last year is definitely Geno Smith, right? People like that who are entering a team, they're trying to prove themselves, they're trying to gain a spot, and they're leveraging the fact that not a lot of teams really know how to adjust to that player at the current moment, right? They're definitely leveraging it. He's definitely trying wacky stuff, and it's working. I remember that running touchdown, the rushing touchdown he had this past weekend. If you saw, there was a little mic'd up moment of Kevin O'Connell just sitting there, call a play. Dobbs did the little loop around and rushed in, and Kevin O'Connell's just speechless, just sitting there in the silence, huh? It's he can do whatever he wants because the team doesn't know how to react to him. They didn't plan for Joshua Dobbs; they planned for Kirk Cousins. So I fully believe he's going to keep going. He's going up against Denver this upcoming weekend, which is a horrific defense. I don't care what happened in the Bills game, and I don't think he's going to stop next week. Next week after that, Chicago. He's on a bye. Then Las Vegas, Cincinnati, Detroit, Green Bay, and Detroit. I mean, he's the guy. He's going to do great. I feel like the rest of the year, whether or not you think he is a good player or not, he's definitely going to have a great rest of the season at the very least. 100%.
Yeah, it's fun. Joe, let's dive into yours. Who you got this week?
Yeah, no, I like Chris's. I like the Spaceman. The Spaceman cometh. My pick for this week is boom bust DJ Moore. We've seen DJ Moore and Justin Fields do good things in the past. Playing against Detroit, they have the 20th best pass defense in the league, which 20th is not a very high number. And I'm predicting DJ Moore gets a touchdown this week. So I think he's going to have a comeback game. I don't think he's going to be a top 5 wide receiver, but he's definitely going to be a hero this week. And I'm thinking 14 points.
Nice. Got the Joe guarantee for 14 points over there. That's good, huh? I'll take it against you as well. So that'll be good. Rich, where are we going here for the first hero?
My first hero is Raheem Mostert going against the Raiders this week. And so it's really just a kind of more confidence boost also because I know that we're hearing that Achane's coming back. So I definitely think you're fine to start Raheem Mostert. Overall, they're still going to give him, I think, more of the work this week, at least. So, and Mostert's been playing lights out. You know, he has only 3 games this season that he didn't end in double-digit fantasy points. Been real solid at finding the end zone. So, I do think that success continues this week. As you know, the Raiders are a real easy challenger, in just the lamest terms, but they're giving up the 5th most fantasy points over the last 4 weeks, so you definitely love that. So I think you can start up Raheem Mostert for sure.
Yeah, we'll get into that at the end of the show. We got a quick question about Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane, so we'll get into that. For me here, it's going to be C.J. Stroud versus the Arizona Cardinals. Last week, he had no Nico Collins, no Dameon Pierce, and no problem. He just flips up the bird every game like Eddie Doubters. He just gets it done. Um, we had hesitation last week. I had hesitation. I have CJ Stroud on my redraft team, and I was looking at it and bad matchup without 2 offensive weapons. It really didn't matter. He's just lights out every week. It's awesome and fun to see. He's just on fire. He's surpassed 250 yards in 6 games this season and 350 yards plus in back-to-back games. Currently, the quarterback 9 on the season and gets the Cardinals defense this week. This could be a really, really fun game because both defenses, they definitely have some holes that quarterbacks can exploit. And we get CJ Stroud versus Kyler Murray, who is back. This could be one of those games where it's a pretty high scoring game. There's lots of points around, and they've already shown that it comes through CJ Stroud. He's going to pass the ball. They're a pass first team, and it's just working. So right now, I'm going to stay in the Flames, Mr. CJ Stroud. Joe, who is your second one here? And then we'll jump to Chris and Rich.
This is the definition from zero to hero, and it is Jahan Dotson, who scored, hold on, 0 fantasy points last week. But he's going against one of the worst teams in football, the New York Giants. You can't get much better matchup than that. I mean, our Giants have been absolutely terrible. We got Mr. DeVito over there, who's not even healthy. He's not even healthy. So yeah, he didn't even look good when he was healthy, and now he's hurt, and it's just going to be a mess. The Giants are going to lose terribly, which I think we all expect by now. And I think Jahan Dotson's going to have a bounce back game. I don't see him getting 0 points again. I think he's going to break the double digit mark this game, and we can rejoice once again in all his glory with Fat Baker Mayfield.
I like it. I like it a lot. Chris, hero number 2. Who we got?
So I'll also choose a Washington Commander. I'm gonna go with Logan Thomas. Now hear me out. I know that sounds a little weird. He's currently tight end number 12, which in terms of tight ends and wanting consistency to a certain extent, he's not the worst option. Of course there are better, but if you're a guy who's sitting there, you missed out on the Sam Laporta and possibly the Kincaid waiver wires back in earlier in the season. Maybe you're suffering. Maybe you had Freiermuth and he's injured. You saw he limited practice today, but that doesn't matter. He's not playing this week probably. You're struggling for a tight end. You're probably streaming through weeks and weeks. You didn't get lucky with the Cole Kmet stuff that he did a couple weeks ago. You're looking for a tight end. I think this is your guy for a couple reasons. As Joe said, horrific defense. Horrible. And most importantly, Sam Howell needs to prove himself. He's in that category of a player that is trying to solidify his spot. And what better way to do that than utilizing every single option? I would definitely argue that every single receiving option on the Commanders is definitely going to put up double-digit points of some kind, just because of how often they'll probably diversify targets. But my thought process is really simple. Really simple. You're looking for a tight end, and you're struggling at that position, and you either have Logan Thomas on your bench or you see him in your waiver wire. This is your guy.
He's been pretty reliable for fantasy this year. That
It's impressive.
offense. I mean, Sam Howell, I'm not ready to say he's a good quarterback. I think he's pretty bad. But for fantasy, who cares?
fair.
They have no defense whatsoever. So makes him throw, and we like it.
Yeah, I used to hate Sam Howell, and for fantasy purposes, he's good. He's a good fantasy quarterback, but the team still doesn't have a winning record. So I mean, it's almost like the Justin Fields effect, where Justin Fields was putting up amazing fantasy points numbers, but the Bears were still losing games, which still puts his job at jeopardy. So in a dynasty aspect,
long term, it's rough.
Yeah, it's scary, but I'd be fine playing Sam Howell as my redraft quarterback any week.
All right, Rich. Final hero. Who is your selection?
My final hero is Luke Musgrave going against the Chargers this week. Musgrave has been getting more work as the seasons come along, despite that lackluster performance of one Jordan Love. We saw Musgrave get his first TD. That was NFL career 2 weeks ago. Good yardage there as well. Followed that up last week, setting the bar even higher, getting even more. Granted, it's still around only it's about mid 60s as far as how much he got, but nonetheless, you love to see it. You like to see him getting integrated in. I believe I've been talking about him a few times, saying that he is slowly getting integrated in, and I think we are slowly but surely taking that next step. This week, I think should be much more of that. Maybe with a little sprinkle of more. I think that we do get an end zone catch this week. Chargers are a very juicy matchup, giving up the most fantasy points to tight ends on the year and over the last 4 weeks as well. So it's been just nothing but consistent there. They seem to be struggling with defending that position. They've allowed 3 out of the 4 tight ends over the last 4 weeks to finish inside the top 10. One of those weeks that Tyler Conklin didn't was because his quarterback, well, let's not get into that, but we all know where I'm going. Nonetheless, Jordan Love, I think, can have a good week this week, as Chargers also give up top 10 numbers to quarterbacks. So just the combo off, I think the way that Jordan Love is going to find success is going to be with Luke Musgrave.
I think I heard a touchdown guarantee over there for Mr. Musgrave. So we'll see how that works out. All right, the final hero of the evening is going to be David Montgomery versus the Chicago Bears. You're going to cue the revenge game narrative. So Monty has been really good this season. It's been very surprising. Even in draft season, I don't think anyone was drafting him remotely close to where now, if we knew what he was going to do, where he would have gone. Yes, he's dealt with a couple injuries, but at this point, what running back hasn't? Because it's been one of those years. And he returned to the field last week after a 4-game absence with that rib injury. Saw only 12 rush attempts, but 116 yards and with a 75-yard touchdown. It was really great to see. He was juking. He looked like in form, David Montgomery. Didn't look like any injury concerns were left over. Jahmyr Gibbs is not going to be a non-factor in this offense because he's held down the fort with Monty on ice. And let's just face it, he's just good. They drafted him at the 12th overall pick this year for a reason. I think even if in a 50-50 split, Monty is going to get those high-value touches close to the goal line, in the 10-yard line, 5-yard line. He's going to get those. It's still not going to be Jahmyr Gibbs getting those. His ceiling probably takes a slight hit with the emergence of Jahmyr Gibbs, this offense, but I don't know if that matters, especially this week. Dan Campbell is a player's coach. You don't think he's going to give every opportunity to David Montgomery to beat up on his old team that they signed him from? I really do think this offense is amazing, and David Montgomery fits this offense really, really well. And with the matchup this week, I'm firing him off in every league I have him. No hesitations. He could finish top 5 this week.
That's bold.
You think so? Because I
Top
mean,
5, dude.
he's got that upside in this matchup.
So,
But to say it is against the Bears. I mean,
The Bears can't.
let's think about it. Real, it is the Bears defense. It's not like it's great.
Their run defense is actually decent. So everywhere else they have issues, but their run defense has actually been pretty good. They've been limiting running backs, but revenge game is a thing. It's I really think he's going to just go bonkers this week, and I hope so. But all right, so now we got some defensive streamers. We're going to rattle through these pretty quick. Lions at the Bears. Justin Fields is coming back, but I don't know what health he's going to be in and sacks, stuff like that. I think it could be a decent day for the Lions defense. Commanders versus the Giants, self-explanatory. The Giants are terrible. Tommy DeVito gets sacked left and right, picks, fumbles, the whole kit caboodle. So that should be plenty. That should be fine, despite the Commanders' defense not being good. Jags versus the Titans. I know the Jaguars have been kind of in a rut lately, but Will Levis is still rookie. They don't have a lot of great pass catchers outside of DeAndre Hopkins. It's been a little bit different lately. This one I thought was a little sneaky. The Jets versus the Bills. We just watched the Bills kind of things are going wrong in Buffalo. They just fired Ken Dorsey. So I expect some changes to be made, but the Jets are a good defense. So are you guys willing to play the Jets against the Bills this week?
It's not my
It's
first.
rough.
It's not my first option, but I wouldn't hate doing it. So
I don't hate it.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't hate it. Like if there's not that many other options, I mean, sure, 100%. Like for instance, personally, right? I think I might almost rather play the Jets defense into the Bills than the Jags defense into the Titans. Personally, I don't trust the Jags. I don't know why. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know what's going on there, but that terrifies me. And all it takes is like Will Levis to click with D Hop again for 3 more touchdowns, and that tanks your whole points there. So I feel like the Jets into the Bills is definitely like sneaky if you got it. If you have no more options, I don't despise it.
All right, the last one here, surprisingly good defense is the Vikings versus the Broncos. Broncos have been hit or miss this year. They've had some struggles and fumbles and
Broncos
interceptions and all.
country. Let's ride.
But the Vikings have been pretty darn good on the defensive side of the ball, which I don't think any of us really expected. This is one of those things that shifted quick, and we're like, whoa, they actually might be good. So those are your defensive streamers to get. I omitted like the Browns defense and all those because they have some good matchups. The 49ers because those are rostered. But if you have those guys, you're definitely starting them. They should be perfectly fine. All right, to finish out the show here, we got a question from our website. Go to theheroesff.com. You can go into our submit a question button, sends us an email. So first question here is from Not Mark. The message is, let's pretend you own Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. Who would you start of the two? Or do you start them both this week? So let's start with Joe.
I personally would I'd 100% start Mostert, and I wouldn't start Achane this week. until he shows me a full practice. He was limited again today. If I see a full practice, maybe I if you need a flex, I'd put Achane in there, but I think they might ease him back in since he still is limited at practice currently. So I think Mostert might see more of the bulk work. So Mostert's 100% safe bet. Achane, I'd err on the side of caution just because he's a rookie. They don't want to get him hurt immediately again after coming back. So he's still limited in practice. I could see him getting a lighter workload than what we're expecting.
What about you, Chris?
I'm gonna have to agree. If you absolutely need the flex option, go for it. You know, it is what it is. But in terms of, I feel like they're gonna give him the Breece Hall treatment, right? But they struck gold, definitely. I mean, the kid was electric when he was out there, and then got hurt. And it's not like they have a definitive running back one. I mean, you got Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert, and then Achane, however last name is pronounced. But between the three of them, I wouldn't classify the first two as like a definitive running back one, at least in my head. Whereas like they just struck gold with this rookie, this itty bitty boy somehow becoming this monster. To the point where we're joking, like the team's joking around, who's faster, him or Tyreek Hill. So I really think they want to like let this one just, so like Joe said, slowly ease back in, let it ride a bit. Because if they end up finding this young rookie, running back one, that's a really good piece to have on your team in a field of running backs where it's tattered with injury-prone running backs and just subpar running backs. That definitely going to be easing back in. Definitely would start Mostert, keep Achane on the sideline if you can.
Is that where you lean, Rich?
So it's a sweep for me as well. I mean, yeah. Sorry, a little twist of my words there, but yeah, no, I agree with what you guys are saying for sure. I do caution Achane. I would play him if I had no really better option. But yeah, I definitely like Mostert, as I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, Mostert is definitely. We'll just make this a pretty much a clean sweep. I would if Devon Achane is a full participant, like Joe said, you at least have to consider it, and I definitely would because he doesn't need a lot of touches to put up points. We've seen that so far in his short NFL career, and he's electric. You put the ball in his hands, he gets things done. So for me, Mostert is safe. If you're looking for more of a floor play, then I'm going Mostert and sitting him. But if you're going for a big victory, if you're, if you're projected to lose by a significant margin, then why not put someone like that in? Because he could easily rip off a 70-yard touchdown, and that could just easily win you the week. So it's definitely worth considering. I would think of him more as a low-end RB2 play, or flex play at best, as far as confidence level, but he definitely has RB1 upside. So I think that was pretty much a clean sweep. So that's going to wrap things up for us this evening. We have another show tomorrow. Me, myself, and Warren are going to be doing a dynasty redraft for rookies of 2023. So stay tuned for that. But until next time, everyone check out the website, subscribe on YouTube, and we'll catch you all later. So long, everyone.
See ya.
Later.
See you.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Heroes FF.